All right, chat. I think a cool exercise. I think a cool exercise right now that we have gotten a first look at these archetypes is we could start looking at the hand traps and where to use them in this upcoming format for the new decks, right? Everyone knows how to hand trap Kashtira, but like mainly like Superheavy Samurai and Superheavy Samurai and Purrely. We could think about looking at how to use hand traps against them. So what's the best way we do this? I think the best way is I just do the combos myself, or we do the combos together, and we just think about where the hand trap would hurt the most, right? I think that's what we do. Oh wait. Let's start with Superheavy Samurai, because that's like the more important one, I think, to hand trap. The thing is, I think a little bit of a weird, the little bit of a weird thing is that, of course, when we're talking Superheavy Samurai, it's mostly one card combos, right? So obviously one card combos kind of die to hand traps by definition. But I think it's worth noting that for Superheavy Samurai, there's different ways you can start, right? You have Bike, you have Wagon, and you have Soul Piercer, and you have the Scale, right? Those are your 4 1-card starters, in theory. Of course, you can also do stuff with other cards, but those are your 4 1-card starters. And where you hand trap in these combos, I think depends a little bit on what they have, right? Because if you start with, like, for example, I would make an argument, and let's see if we agree on that. Maybe some people in chat that have experimented more with the decks already. But I think Vakaushi, when you have Ghost Ogre, I think it's incredibly dangerous to Ogre Vakaushi. I'm not sure if it's correct, because I do think that everyone is going to play Gamma in Superheavy Samurai, because honestly, Gamma is the perfect card for Superheavy Samurai. Gamma is so busted in Superheavy Samurai because it's obviously an insane hand trap going second, but you also have so many ways to use it before you have monsters on the board, right? Gamma on Vakaushi, Ash on Bike, Droll after Bike. All of those scenarios, Gamma, you can use Gamma on your own turn even. And so I think Gamma is going to be a main deck staple. It's a main deck staple. And so in that sense, we have to find out, can we afford to wait with the Ghost Ogre against the Vakaushi? Can we wait? Because maybe if we use it later, it's just not good enough. Maybe we have to risk it. But that's what I want to find out. What if we don't Ogre the Vakaushi? Okay, we don't Ogre the Vakaushi. Let me put all these others back into the deck. We start with Vakaushi here. We do not Ogre the Vakaushi. The Vakaushi resolves. The Benkei goes to spell to the Pendulum Scale. Do we Ogre the big Benkei? What do we lose to if we Ogre the big Benkei? I think there's 2 options. One is this, one is the Link one. If they have, the problem is we get punished if they have the Bike, or if they have, I think Wagon is also not great for us. And I think Soul Piercer is also pretty bad for us, right? Those 3, if they have another 1-card starter, basically, if they have one of the other ones, then we are in trouble, right? Because if we Ogre this, and they already have one of these, it's looking pretty bad. Maybe Wagon is also not very good for us. Yeah. If they have one of these 3, which is 9 cards, then ogering the scale is not that good. They still have a less powerful combo because they can't pendulum summon without the scale 1. So it still is not irrelevant, but still they do a lot of stuff here. Right? The other option, of course, is that we could ogre later in the combo. Like let's say we let the big Benkei resolve, and they grab the Soul Piercer, they normal the Soul Piercer, they make the Scarecrow, they add with the Soul Piercer the what did we add here? The bike. The bike was discarded to add it was the Peacemaker, I think. No. What was it? I forgot. Was it Soul Pierce Maker? It was Soul Pierce Maker, right? Now they use Scarecrow, discard a card, target the Soul Pierce Maker, and then you ogre it. What would be a card we now lose to? Chad, I think this is straight up better. I think ogering this is straight up better than ogering the big Benkei. I think you ogre the Scarecrow if you want to play around Gamma. Hard draw second Vakaushi to Pendulum Summon? Yes, but that's a lot less punished than for the other one. Can they make Baronne before? Can they make Baronne beforehand? Well, we have normal summoned in this combo. We would need a level 4 extender. We could do Baronne if we draw the Gaia booster. With that one, we could make a Baronne. Right? You can make Baronne still. You have Peacemaker into scale and still Pendulum. If you get Ogred here, we have Soul Pierce Maker. This is in the deck. Soul Pierce Maker into scale. What do you mean, Soul Pierce Maker into scale? Oh, you mean this? Yeah, okay, I get it. But then this goes into... This does not go into your scale then. They go summon Scales. It's named Scale? No, it's not. It's named Scales, not Scale. That's why I was confused. Scales revives this thing, makes it level 4. Then you go Axel into this. But I would argue that this is still a pretty acceptable result. Right? I think that's still a very acceptable result for one Ghost Ogre. If you consider the fact that if you didn't have that Ghost Ogre, you were born this, but then you don't have a tuner. Make Ancient Gear Link? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. You can Reborn Soul Piece, make Genius, add Pendulum Summon. Soul Pierce. Yeah, you can add another Vakaushi and then scale it. And then you have... Yeah, there's ways. So what are we saying now, chat? What are we saying? Do we have to Ogre the Vakaushi because all the other lines are too strong? I guess it depends on your hand, right? I guess it's a matter of if your hand is pretty good at breaking a board already, you can afford to wait and play around Gamma. Like, if your hand can beat 1 or 2 interruptions, then you can probably wait. But if Ogre is your only interruption and the rest is engine, I think you just Ogre the Vakaushi. You probably just Ogre the Vakaushi. Right? Now, what if we have Ash Blossom? Let's say we're playing Ash Blossom. Like, I know a lot of decks aren't playing Ash Blossom, but what if we do? We can't Ash the Vakaushi. That does not work. Do you just Ash this and hope they don't have it? Or is it better to Ash the Soul Peacemaker? There's like three possible targets. You can Ash Big Benkei, you can Ash Soul Peacemaker, or you can Ash the bike. I would not advise ashing the bike, I think. I don't like ashing the bike because the bike, like if you let them get the bike from Big Benkei, then they have a level 2 tuner in the grave as a target for Axel, and that makes it a lot easier to get to Barone. I think if anything, just ash the freaking Big Benkei and hope they can't play. By the time they resolve Peacemaker, Barone is on board. Yeah, right? So let's say we have only Vakaushi. This is our 1-card combo. Ignore the other cards in hand. We would go Bike with Benkei, normal summon Peacemaker. The music's very fitting. And then we go this. We would add the Peacemaker, right? And then we discard, bring back here. Yeah. We get Barone before we Peacemaker. Yeah, we get Barone before we Peacemaker. Benkei adds only soul. Oh yeah, we add the PS. It was the other way around. We summon this and then add the bike. Benkei adds soul pierce, normal soul pierce, get scarecrow, get bike, that way around. It's the same result. It's just I misordered it. No one is negating Ash with Barone. If your turn ends after Ash, you can negate Ash with Barone. I guess you have to Ash Benkei and put them on Better Habit. I think so too. I think I agree. I think you just Ash this thing in the scale and hope they can't play, because that's the best Ash gets against this deck. I think that's what you do with Ash. Or if your hand beats the board without Barone, you Ash Peacemaker. You could do that. You could force the Barone, kind of. You know what I mean? Like if you have a problem with the Barone specifically, but like the thing is, if they get to Barone, they also get to like Regulus and Savage. So like, if you can't beat one Omni Negate, you're also not gonna beat the other two. Like that does not make sense. I don't think trading Ash for one Omni Negate is ever gonna, you know. The other two don't destroy. Yeah, if you have a card like, I don't know, I guess if you have Performapal Rainbow Magician or 5 Rainbow Magician, you could Ash force the Barone. Right? That would make sense. That would make sense in that scenario. In that very specific scenario, you could force the Barone and then just Mystic Mind him. Okay. Droll and Lockbird. One other question: if they have the wagon, you always ogre that, right? We always ogre the wagon. Do we agree on that? I think if they start normal summon wagon, I ogre that shit with the quickness. Because then even if they have an extender, or even if they already have Wakaushi, it's not going to be the standard combo because they don't have the normal summon. At which effect do you negate Wagon? You always negate the second effect. You don't have to negate it when it tries to put itself into defense position, because the effect reads, hold up. The effect reads, if you have no spell and traps in your grave, you can change this face-up defense position card you control to attack position, and if you do, add a Super Heavy Samurai Soul from deck to hand. So if you Ogre this on activation, they cannot search. I like Ogre on Wagon, if they have Wagon. Yeah. Droll and Lockbird is self-explanatory. Nibiru is also self-explanatory, right? You have to Nibiru before they get to Barone. So on the board of, like, I guess let's just do the combo with Wagon Wagon once. And then Nibiru just pretty much trades with Barone, which isn't bad. It's not bad, yeah. But so if we start with Wagon, we add a Super Heavy Samurai Soul, which is probably, what's the combo with this guy? Peacemaker? I have to Peacemaker, right? Or is there another one for it? Piercer? Which one is Piercer? Soul Claw? That card is not in here. Oh, wait. Piercer is the crossbow? Oh, oh, God. It can equip from hand. I forgot it can do that. It doesn't trade with Barone if they play Stardust. If they play Stardust, yeah. Which, that's nasty if they do that. So we link off Soul Piercer, grabs us Vakaushi, probably. Surely. Activate. I don't get why Rainbow is such a huge problem. Can you maybe explain again? I can. Remind me in a second. I can explain to you why Rainbow Magician is a problem. So this then adds, is that another? That was the one that adds Soul. That adds Soul Piercer, probably. Soul Peacemaker, probably. Where is it? This. Then we can discard for Scarecrow to bring back this. And then we're basically in the same situation. But we don't have Bike in the graveyard yet. I could have searched Bike earlier, right? Instead of searching the Vakaushi, I needed to search Bike and then Vakaushi. Right? Earlier on, I skipped on the Bike. I shouldn't do that. Yeah. So we get to the same point here, which was after this, it's definitely going to be 5 summons, right? So you make this, you revive this. But hold on. If I get nibbed here, you tell me it only trades with this, it only trades with the Barone, but doesn't it also require another extender now? Because I don't have a Super Heavy Samurai? Or did I do the combo incorrectly? Or I forgot Piercer Search. Oh, that's what it is. The Piercer Search probably makes it beat that. What do I even add here? With the Piercer. I don't need anything. I guess Gaia. So if I get or not even that. It's probably the little spy that special summons itself, right? Spy. Yeah. So if I get nibbed here, where's spy? If I get nibbed here, First of all, I can dodge the Nibiru with the Axel Stardust if you play a Stardust in the extra deck, which is an interesting option. I'm not sure if people are going to do that. I don't really see it in the OCG, right? They don't really do that. But theoretically, during the main phase quick effect, you can tribute this card, special summon a Stardust Dragon from your extra, treat it as a synchro summon. Immediately after this resolves, synchro summon using monster you control's materials. For the rest of this turn, the monsters synchro summoned by this effect are unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. So what you can do if you get nibbed here is you can chain Axel Synchro, tribute it, summon a Stardust from the extra. I don't have one right now. Let's say this is Stardust. Summon a Stardust, synchro with those into Baronne, and the Baronne is unaffected. The Baronne is now unaffected, so it doesn't get Nibiru'd, only this gets Nibiru'd, and you keep your Baronne. Of course, that requires an extra deck slot. But it's an interesting option. It's an interesting option. Let's say they don't play that, though. Let's say we don't play Stardust, and we get nibbed. So we grab the token. We have the token. And what we can do from here on out is special spy, equip this, tribute, summon scales. Unaffected helps versus Nibiru tribute? Yes. Unaffected by card effects will make you unaffected by Nibiru's effect because it tributes for card effect. So we can go into scales. Scales revives Piercer. Oops. In this scenario, you really want the Ballista, right? You really want the Ballista in this spot. Because I'm thinking we could go Girgigant to add the thingy, but we really would like let's say we have Ballista in the extra deck just in case. We go Ballista. We trigger Soul Piercer and Ballista, which adds box to hand and a level 4. Or like, do we want the tuner maybe? Let's grab the tuner. And then this adds us the tunneler. And then we pendulum summon everything. We pendulum summon everything. We can then... No Regulus is rough. Could I have gotten Regulus? You can go Spy and Genius beforehand. Search Spy into Genius. Spy... I have already used Spy. I don't... You can't Genius because your opponent just summoned... Yeah, okay, yeah, right. You should just give them the token here so that they cannot make Genius. So that... If you give them the token in the middle, then there's no way to summon Genius and summon 2. Pure Chaos, thank you for the 4 months. I'm not sure yet, but I'm gonna let you know. But welcome back. Thank you for the Prime. Appreciate the support. Also, chat, we're closing in on 20k followers. Well, we're at 19k soon. I'd really appreciate if you hit that follow button if you enjoyed the stream. There's a lot of people here. Surely not everyone is following. We'll see if we can hit 20k by the end of next month. I'd appreciate it. So, I think Nib seems solid. There's there might be better ways to play around it. And of course, I'm only ever looking at the 1 card minimum combo, right? If we have more extenders, we probably get there. But who would have, like, you can't really expect more from a hand trap against this deck, I feel like. Even though they still get a lot of shit here, right? They still have like Savage, Appaloosa, draw 2 cards. That's still pretty insane. Right? Savage, Appaloosa, 5 in hand. Yeah, it's still tough. It's still tough. One hand trap is not going to stop them unless it's Droll or Shifter. It's like, it's Droll stops them completely. Ghost Ogre can stop them if you're lucky. Or if they're unlucky, Ghost Ogre can stop them. Like, I think, how do you make Savage Appo? You wouldn't get a 3 material Appo. You'd have to link in this specific situation, you would have to do like Ossa. And then you only have a 2 material Appo plus Savage. Right? You could also just make IP. You could also make IP, yeah. And then Savage equips whatever. And this draws 2 cards. You do have to contest the nib. The nib is there still, right? The nib is here, yeah. We aren't on Merrymaker. I copied the list. There's 100% the possibility that this is not the optimal extra deck and that you have other options. Appo Savage draw 2 through 1 nib for 1 card is still kind of... It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But apparently it's as good as it gets. I will say, I think Ghost Ogre seems very good here because I think Ghost Ogre is the one that for 1 hand trap, if we're talking those one-on-one hand traps, like not like lingering effects like Droll or tribute everything like Nibiru. If we're talking just discard me whenever and do one thing, I think Ghost Ogre is the best one against this deck because if it resolves on Vakaushi. If Vakaushi actually gets negated, I think that's the biggest impact you can do. Like, that's really nice because it loses the level 4 tuner body. It loses both scales, right? Because you don't have the high scale and you don't get the low scale. And you don't get the search from Big Benkei. So it's like, that's like the most value you can get from 1 hand trap, I think, in this matchup. The only problem with that is that you play into Gamma, right? You play into Gamma because they usually Vakaushi without cards on the field. Depending on their starter, though. I mean, actually, very often you already have the Scarecrow, but like there's ways. Yeah. You gotta take the risk most of the time. I think that's unfortunately true. I think most of the time you have to risk the Gamma with Ghost Ogre. Right? Are you hating Super Heavy Samurai? I'm not a fan of the concept. I don't like it. I don't hate it. I think there's been worse in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, I genuinely, this might surprise people. I really don't like it, but I also don't think it's like the end of the world. Somehow. Maybe I'm gonna think differently when it comes out, but I personally for example, don't think it's much worse than Mathmech for the game. Here we are again. Oh shit, here we go again. He's talking about Mathmech again. I think it's not as bad as Mathmech, for example, for the game. Like I think it's better in the sense that the restriction of it's better than Mathmech, I think it's a better deck than Mathmech, but it's also less toxic because it does not play. It can't play spell traps in the main deck. So there's a couple of loopholes. That's a big weakness, I think, which makes me accept it somewhat. Time Josh out? No! Let me just hate Mathmech in peace. Okay. Now, Purrely is a little bit more complicated as to hand traps, as to how hand traps go. Like, I think Purrely, oops, wrong deck. Purrely is surprisingly resilient to hand traps. I feel like. Like, I think if you have Droll Lockbird, it depends on what they do, but most of the time I think they are most of the time going to Droll Lockbird you. They're going to play around Droll Lockbird. No, you didn't. Stop. Most of the time, you're going to play around Droll Lockbird by activating your quick play spells in the draw phase, which also plays around Effect Veiler. Droll Lockbird, I think people are going to actually not like Droll Lockbird that much against Purrely. The reason that is that Droll Lockbird is at its best against Purrely in your own turn. Because what you're going to do with Droll Lockbird is when they go for like a fat plump with like multiple sleepy memories attached, right? And they have leap, right? They're going to activate the first sleepy memory in your standby under it's attached to the plump. They activate plump to draw 1. They draw 1. You draw them to stop all the other memory draws and the leap rank up to also draw more cards, right? So in this case, for example, if you have 2 sleepy memories and leap, right? If you have 2 sleepy memories and leap, normally you would draw 4 cards. If you discard Droll, they only draw 1 instead of 3. They only draw 1 instead of 4, so you save you get rid of 3 draws, which is pretty good. The problem is that you are also under Droll. You can't Droll in standby. Brothers in Christ. The card has 1 sentence. The card has 1 sentence, chat. 1. And you're telling me you cannot Droll in the standby phase. Read the card, read the effect on the screen right now. I'm not going to explain it to you. Just read that effect. How is there 3 separate people telling me I can't Droll in the standby phase? I was chatting? Okay, I respect that. At least we're admitting to it. At least we are admitting to the chattage. I respect that. Okay. Anyways, what I was saying is in order for Droll to actually be effective against Purrely, you need to Droll on your own turn. You need to Droll on your own turn, which no deck right now that I can think of can really do, right? Sprite can't do that. Cash Tira can't do that. Superheavy Samurai can't do that. You just can't Droll yourself, right? Like that doesn't work. But Drolling the deck on their turn is actually not that good, I think. Like I think Drolling Purrely on its first turn is not that effective, assuming that they have a couple of quick plays in their draw phase. Like some hands will not like Droll Lockbird, but like this hand, just as an example, will use its quick play spell in the draw phase. This hand is a terrible hand, by the way. Well, it's not terrible. It's pretty bad. But if this hand goes first, it doesn't get rolled, right? Like, it... How will you use it in draw? Well, this card you can't. But this memory you can't. Well, this hand is actually just complete ass. This hand is dead. Never mind. Bro, can I not draw Happy Memory for once? Oh, that also doesn't work. There we go. Out of the out of the 4 Purrely memories, you can actually only activate 2 in your draw phase. You can only activate 2 of them, so 6 cards in your draw phase. That makes it a little bit better. Looks like this deck bad. Okay. We're saved. Purrely is not a good deck. Mert the Jill says, looks like this deck bad. Alright. Saved. You can sell your Purrely cores now. It's bad. Twitch chatter said it's bad. Wrap it up. It's over.